Hi, Dr. Ellison.
Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well, thank
Yeah. Welcome to the Global Virtual Summit 2025, Ellison.
you so much. Glad to be here.
Yeah. Before going to your session, I would like to introduce you to our audience. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I'm ready to go, and I hope everyone can see me.
Dr. Allison is a respected educational leader, researcher, and author, specializing in trauma-informed education and TESOL. With over a decade of experience, she has implemented trauma-responsive practices in urban schools and led professional development focused on healing-centered learning environments. Her work is rooted in neuroscience, restorative practices, and social emotional learning. In addition to her academic contributions, she is a published author of self help and poetry books and has been featured in various anthologies. Her upcoming ninth book, Three Slides, is set to be released in 2025. That was a fantastic bio, Alison, and stage is all yours. Yeah.
Can everybody see my screen, I hope?
Yes, Alison.
Excellent. Okay. So hello, everyone around the world. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today, I'm going to be presenting to you Grow Through What You Go Through, Transforming Through Trauma. My doctoral dissertation was in trauma-informed education, mainly within high school or secondary or teenage level youth. And I'm very glad to speak to all of you today regarding the impacts of trauma can do throughout our lifetimes and how we can transcend or transform through different traumas. So I firmly believe there is a story inside each and every one of us. When we think about it, we are all just icebergs. Some people may see the surface level or what's on the top or the visible area, but not everyone gets to see what's happening inside of us and the things that we're dealing with that we may not always want to discuss. So my question is, what if the hardest chapters of your life were not the end of your story, but the beginning of your transformation? What happens if the things that we are going through, though challenging and very tough, list for something brand new that we can create or something that we can heal within us to work through and could potentially help heal the world as well? Author, I am a researcher, I am an educator, and I have been doing some work with trauma-informed education and with narcissistic personality disorder as of late. But when it comes to heal from the things that have challenged us and things that have hurt us, we may have a lifetime of different challenges that can really cause us pain. And as a society, we're consistently exposed to collective traumas and situations we've repeatedly altered everything that we once knew. And when we process the emotions that we've endured individually, they can be challenging, and working towards a sense of healing is crucial. It's absolutely necessary because that time is now. And growth is not what happens after the trauma ends. It's how we continue to choose to path of our experiences. How we decide for ourselves, we are in control. Even in moments where it seems like things may be out of our control, taking a moment, taking a breath, realizing we have can make, though sometimes challenging, we have choices. And a question that was posed to me many years ago that really stuck with me is, what would you do if you stopped making excuses? At a very challenging point in my own, someone had asked me this question. And the first thing I could think of was go for my doctorate. For years, I had made excuses, some sort of self-perturbed narrative that I was coming up with in my head. And when I really sat down and thought about the excuses I would make, time, money, effort, I knew I could make time for the things effort. If I'm passionate about this, why not go for my doctorate? And so eventually I did go for my doctorate, and in under 2 years, I ended up really immersing myself in trauma-informed education that could help individuals with healing. You don't have to be fully healed to begin growing. It's not a process that you could just wake up one morning and say, I am fully healed, or maybe it is. But above all, healing is something, moments where you think of the traumas or the tragedy or the challenges that you've gone through, but you're thinking about it, that you've stopped healing. Okay? Healing is a continuous process, and it may take you. Most wars are won or lost in our own heads. This was said by David Goggins. And as I read this, it really dawned on me that no matter how many self-podcasts or videos or anything, even this talk right now, you can heal, but you have to truly believe this is the time, because you can in your head that you'd like, but until you accept, nothing can work toward, and healing will be a very challenging process. And the basics of trauma. So trauma can occur at time, and more than 66% of youth experience at least one. And trauma itself impedes self-actualization, meaning someone's highest potential. Media can really challenge our abilities to say, am I healing? Can I going on in my life? Adverse childhood experiences, or ACEs, are traumatic events that have negative effects on health and well-being even into adulthood. So something that you were having at age 7, 13, any point under the age of 18 can have long-lasting effect into your adulthood. And I'm not saying that just because you deal with a traumatic event in adulthood, it's not going to have an impact on you. It will, and it can. But oftentimes, adverse childhood experiences that we deal with this way we view the world, and it changes the way we shape our worlds. Things such as physical neglect, emotional neglect, witnessing acts of domestic violence, substance abuse, either or friend, mental illness, parental separation, divorce, or incarceration or imprisonment are different things that can truly impact an individual's ability to work with the concept of trauma. And these are all time a person can be healing from, and we may not even know it. This sort of research is 1943, 1954, and a few years after that, worked on his hierarchy of needs. Our physical love and belonging and esteem needs. If these things, the basic things in life, food, shelter, feeling that we're safe, feeling that we belong to a friend group or a family or a community or a society, and our own self-esteem, our own voice, all of these things are challenged. Reaching that pinnacle point of self-actualization, that full potential, can be a challenge, which is why it's important to note the things we do and the things we say not only impact but affect everyone around us as well, even when we're not completely cognizant of that. The manifestation of trauma can come as physical, emotional, or spiritual elements. That stomach ache, that migraine, that feeling of down in your gut. These are all things that can impact your sense of being, your sense of self, and how you interact with the world. Within school settings, we've seen things such as having outbursts of anger and children not knowing 100% how they can explain or express this anger. From age 12 to 14, those teenage years, the limbic system trauma. If we're not addressing and handling how to heal from trauma and can set the stage for things to come over the years. And from age 15 to 18, these can last all the way into adulthood. That's why it's important we heal. We work to help others and not just turn to someone and say, I'm going to help you because I feel your trauma is intense. Understanding that there is a line. We need to work on ourselves before any sort of kind of external thing. And working on ourselves doesn't need to mean I'm going to life, I'm going to change everything about myself. Small steps, small incremental one morning that you're going to wake up and instead of saying, ugh, it's Monday again, saying, you know what, it's a new day and I'm going to create something. I'm going to do a number of different things, but it's important that we realize the traumas and the challenges we recognize that these are things that we are dealing with and we need to heal within ourselves. Re-traumatization and awareness of the trauma as well. Resilient, building connections and coping as well. Building a culture and community and region-specific resources are also important because when it comes down to it, we also need to be mindful. Who knows? You could have someone in your community who's dealing with similar things. There may be a group organization that can help you as well. In addition, we have the social ecology of trauma. The surroundings that we are in, these impact our trauma as well, because healing is possible in the right surroundings. Being re-traumatized or dealing with these traumas, it's going to be very challenging to grow. And sometimes we may need to realize that cognitive behavioral therapy, somatics, other therapeutic solutions may be the key to helping us unpack some of this trauma. And though some people sometimes they say, just move on. It's not that bad. It's not that big of a challenge. Don't worry about it. It still lingers. It still stays with. Sets something off and says, oh, I remember that. And even though that doesn't necessarily bother me on day-to-day, and I remember those moments. I remember those situations. It's important to be mindful of these things because when we're mindful, it can help us work towards healing. The brain, the body, and our relationships are consistent. Stress hormones such as cortisol and adrenaline can headaches, elevated heart rate, shallow breathing, and sleep disruption. These are all things that can consistently feed on your trauma and feed into you being re-traumatized or dealing with it. And there are three sides to every single story. We all have different perspectives. We all have different experiences. And when it really comes down to it, realize that everyone's perspective is different. One thing that you may say may seem just can eat at them. And I'm not saying go around this entire universe and be incredibly careful and say, I'm not going to speak because I don't. That in certain circumstances and situations, it's very important to know speaking to who you're working with and that there may be a story behind the story that you know nothing about. Trauma can be part of your story, but it's not the whole story. It does not have to be yourself some space. And what I mean by space is giving yourself time. We have to ask, what does a space of openness, mindfulness, and kindness truly look like? What does environment kind of tell us? So what does a space of openness, mindfulness, and kindness look like? It's safety. It's collaboration with people and with individuals that you know. Oh, well, I feel safe because so-and-so tells me to. Shift away from those moments of thinking, I'm obligated to feel safe, or I'm obligated to do this because so-and-so said so. What do you feel? How can you heal? Building trust is consistently empowering yourself to come from a place of healing and giving yourself that choice and that through survival mode. I may have done things in survival mode that I'm not proud of, but these are things that I work through. It's important to have a sense of self-compassion because you can't heal by criticizing yourself. Feel challenging, and you need to shift from that sense of, oh no, I can't do this, I thought of this, I thought of that, and give yourself a bit of grace. There's a serenity prayer that and the wisdom to know the difference. When we're dealing with trauma, it can be very hard to, but be mindful. You may not be able to control certain things, but you can control how you react. You can control how you respond to things. It's important to set boundaries because healing requires protection and not just reflection. You need to be mindful that if you're in similar situations, setting these boundaries where you feel that you can heal are important. And you're not required on fire to keep others warm. Just because one person thinks I must have things this way or I must do things this mean that you always have to give in to something, especially when you feel deep within you that it is not good and it is not well and it is wrong. It's important to build connections. You need to ask yourself, who feels emotionally safe? But calm, non-judgmental, and steady. Where is your emotionally safe place? Think of presence versus performance. That person who's saying, oh, well, you owe me, or you may not be the person who's giving you that emotional safety. And practice saying yes and no from a place of choice, not a fear or obligation. So if someone's constantly telling you, let's go, let's do this, let's do that, and tension, where you're feeling obligated, what would happen if you would say no? What would happen if you say, you know what, what's best for me? How can I heal the situation I'm in? How can I? Consider a sense of resilience and expression, because growth is built in the daily grind and not just in the big breakthroughs. Really, really tough day does not mean that it's not feeding into your growth or your healing process. Again, healing does not happen in a second. Healing takes time. Consider creating something new, be it writing, be it art, be it dance. Do something that helps you move and that helps you feel. Linda Ronstadt, who's an American singer, said, art is for healing ourselves, and everybody needs their own personal. That doesn't mean that your sense of expression, as long as you're not hurting others, build something, create something, do something, express yourself. Because staying bottled up and just hiding, even from yourself, can create more challenges in your life. And again, give yourself space. Start small. Be purposeful, be accepting. And I'm not saying accepting, but come to an understanding that some things you cannot change, but you do have the courage to shift your mindset and your future. Be creative and be empowering. Who knows what you can develop or create through a sense of healing? And the science behind this, working on writing and working on expressing yourself through some sort of art can truly help you. The American Psychological Association in 2002 realized that explaining that writing can strengthen typing or pens help my immune system. But as you start to get depressing negative trauma related thoughts, those things can compromise the immune. Can grow, things can build. You can begin to process things that you've gone through. Or it can help you. Harvard Medical School in the United States also noted that are also not struggling or going with ongoing severe mental health challenges, such as major disorder. So when you're dealing with physical health disorders and you're writing for a purpose, or you're free, beautiful things can happen. You can start to free yourself from things that you may. And the National Institute of Health, or NIH from the United States, expresses how writing, doing something creative, can help with the difficult moments. Stronger, less upset, and less cognitively avoidant about a particular life event that they wrote about. Expressing yourself, acknowledging things that you've gone through can help. And you don't have to or tell everyone in the world about something you're going through, but understand that it doesn't mean that you have to reach out and get support. You can work through these things before speaking to someone. Collaborating, these are things that are important. But these are some things to think about. What has been my greatest wound? What has been my greatest challenge? What should I release or let go of that I cannot control? What have I been carrying with me for what shame do I carry? What regret am I carrying? What is in my control? What can I control in these very moments? What is outside of control? Where am I stuck? I take to move forward. These are some things that can certainly help you in understanding the traumas or the experiences that have been challenging in your life that you can now focus on. So ask yourself, what story are you telling yourself? Are you coming from the mindset of you cannot heal? Are you coming from the mindset of it's too hard to heal? And what if the hardest chapters of your life were not the end of your story, but the beginning of your transformation? What if all of the things to help you grow? And I'm not saying that in a way to kind of diminish things that we've gone through. But if we take this mindset and we find ways to grow from these experiences, what can be created? What will, with what you have been through? What will you experience as a result of working towards healing and growing? You may not have chosen the storm, but you do get a chance to choose how you can navigate it. What would you do if in this very moment you decided you were going to take the path? How would your life change? Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for being here. Learned that it's important to grow through what you go through, because transforming through trauma is incredibly important. Thank you.
Yeah, listen. Hello. I think Alison has a network issue, so she left. We have a few questions for her. We will directly post it to her email. And thank you for your valuable time, Alison. Thank you.